sketch the graph of y equals -2 sine of pi x plus 2 pi plus 4. Well, here, there's actually a little trick that we can do real quick, and that's just that we know that sine has a period of 2 pi. That means that this plus 2 pi actually is just shifting a full period of the sine function. So we can just cut it out, and this will be the exact same as -2 sine of pi x and then plus 4. That'll just save us a little bit of work because we don't need to deal with a shift here. So I'm going to go ahead and sketch this graph now. Now we're going to start with our identifying the different pieces of the function. A is -2, B is pi, C is 0, because I'm working off of my new simplified form, and D is 4. And we can get all of our key features from that. Our amplitude is the absolute value of A, so that's 2. The midline is y equals D, so y equals 4 in this case. And we can get our minimum and maximum from those two things. The minimum is the midline minus the amplitude, so that's 2. And the maximum is the midline plus the amplitude, which is 6. All right, so now we're going to, and then we get our period. Our period is 2 pi over the absolute value of b. So we get 2. And finally our phase shift. And because we were able to simplify this, we can view our phase shift, of course, as c over b, which is 0. Now we're ready to graph. We want to pick our scale here. Because our period is a whole number, 2, I want to kind of spread that out a little bit. So I'm going to let this be 1 and that be 2. And our maximum and minimum, 2 and 6, we need to make sure that those are kind of in our picture. So I'm going to actually go by 2 here, the 2's in the vertical axis. So that's going to be 2 and 4 and 6, just to make sure that everything kind of fits. Now, our midline is at y equals 4. So there's a sketch of our midline. This is a sine function which starts on the midline. So the x-coordinate is the phase shift of 0, and the y-coordinate is there on the midline. So 0, 4 is going to be our starting point. From there, our ending point, we just move the period. The period is 2, so we move over to 2, and that's going to be our ending point. We have a point halfway between those for the sine function. So halfway between those, of course, is at 1. And then we need to decide if we're going to be going down or up from our starting point. And that's where we look at a and b for the sine function. For sine, if a and b have the same sign, meaning they're both positive or both negative, then you start by going up. If they are different, one positive and one negative, then you start by going down. And that's what's happening here. We have one positive and one negative for a and b. So we'll start by going down. So halfway between these 2 points, we reach our minimum, and our minimum is at 2. And then we'll loop back, and between those 2 points, we'll reach our maximum, which is at 6. And we go ahead and draw that. And of course, this is, you can kind of continue that. I'm very sloppy, don't have a great steady hand, but that's the sketch of our function. Now you'll notice, I just want to point out, that plus 2 pi, that would have simply, if we wanted to keep that in there, our phase shift just would have been a negative 2 pi over 2, which is -2. And so everything would have been the same except our starting point would have been over at -2, which is right here. And you can see that the sketch from there, well, yeah, that's the same thing, right? And so it wouldn't have changed the graph, but it just simplified our work a little bit by not having to do that phase shift.